Hello and welcome. You're watching Business Today Television. I'm Sakshi Batra, with me Shail Bhatnagar, and this is Market Today, a show where we'll help you understand the closing action on the D Street. 23,650. We are down by 162 points, so we've drifted towards the low end of the day. It was a very choppy trading session thus far, but we've actually lost our volumes also. It was expected to be so because the FIIs are clearly on a holiday, and we are also seeing thinner volumes because of lack of triggers as well in the markets right now. The Nifty, as I said, is down by about 0.6%. The Nifty Bank, if you look at, is underperforming the Nifty as well, 0.8% of a loss for this one. You have the small caps and the mid caps that are also down by about 0.8% odd in trade. All the sectors of the Nifty, barring the pharma index, are all down in the red right now. Pharma is up by about half odd percent. So the markets are turning absolutely defensive at this point in time. You do have some, large caps that are actually outperforming. So you have Adani stocks that are doing very well, especially Adani Enterprises, that's jumped now over 7.3% in trade. HCL Tech is defying the otherwise weakening trend in the IT space today. So you can see that is up by over a 1.1%. You have Sun Pharma, Cipla as among those pharma stocks that are doing very well in trade right now. But large part of the Nifty stocks are also lower, led by the losses on the metal stocks, on Trent, on BEL, on the likes of Tata Motors, Wipro. These are the top laggards at this point in time. So stock-specific action continues while the overall trend in the markets is still negative. Good afternoon, Shail.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's an absolutely low volume day. It being the penultimate trading session for 2024. Everybody is on a holiday except Sakshi and me, and to some extent Kunal Rambia, who will be joining us shortly. But the fact remains that FIIs have placed sell orders at levels which they feel Nifty should not tolerate. So 23,906 was an intraday high where a lot of selling came in, and from that point of time it's been a 270 point erosion. Again 23,660. So the FIIs are just not letting the index move up and are persisting with continuous and predictable selling pressure. So that's the reason why you see a negative on the Nifty, 150 points down. The Nifty Bank is down 450 points. Remember, it was up 500 points in the morning. So it's almost a 1,000-point journey during the day. IT index is on the back foot, the NSE 500 is on the back foot. We had started the market with a negative advance decline in the morning. Only 850 shares were in the green versus about, I think, 1,200 shares in the red. Now the story is much different. 636 shares are in the green only, compared with 1782 in the red. So the dominance of bears on the Lal Street is increasing by every passing hour. In the morning, 5 indices were in the red out of 19. Now all 19 are in the red. You have just minor gains all around, stocks like Lupin, stocks like Sun Pharma, stocks like Persistent showing some kind of a trend towards the long side. But even there, those gains are pretty on the lower side. Advanced decline within Nifty is 1:3. Only 13 shares are in the green versus 37 in the red. In the NSE 500, it is 1:3 again, 150 shares in the green versus 350 in the red. So that is what the picture is, ladies and gentlemen. Very choppy trade. Amongst the top 10 traded counters on the National Stock Exchange, there are many on the cash segment. Top traded today is Greaves Cotton, a fresh record high, very strong volumes. 2,526 crores. MobiKwik is the second most active traded counter, given bit of gains, now 1945 crores. Adani Enterprises from the Nifty, that's doing well, but then up 7%. This is still below June 4th lows, so nothing much to talk about, 2583. Then comes ICICI and HDFC Bank. 1,022 crores on ICICI, down 1%. 881 crores on HDFC Bank, down 1.2%. So that's the basic underlying granularity of the market. All stocks dependent on a weak rupee are doing very well. Look at how Coforge is moving, 95.71. Look at how Persistent has changed its tack towards the green side, and that's how it is. Let's get our friend Kunal into the conversation. So three of us working, Kunal, on 2 days before New Year. Now tell us what looks good on the charts and what are you avoiding?
Good afternoon, Selshar. Good afternoon, Sakshi, and good afternoon to all our viewers. So, if you look at the Nifty, I think broadly speaking, in last 2 months, we have seen the sideways consolidation. And if you look at the 4th November, that's where we started that new month of November, we closed near to 23,975, 24,000 kind of levels. Today, during the market hours, we hit the high of 23,915. But again, we are near to the low of the day. But broadly speaking, these 2 months are still looking sideways itself. We are consolidating near low, which is a worrisome situation, but the fact remains that the price correction is not much compared to time correction on the indices front. So Nifty, I think 23,600 looks a strong support, and on Bank Nifty, 50,700 is again a strong support on the chart.
Very good afternoon to you, Kunal. Good to have you with us on the show right now. The biggest question that investors want to know is what is Kunal Rambia's plan for the New Year's? I think today that is something that we should be discussing. Markets are any which ways not giving us an opportunity to really invest in big. Tell us, what are your plans for the New Year's? Any
To be very
resolutions?
honest, the resolution is definitely gonna be that now instead of gung ho buying, we should actually be focusing on stock specifics, and that's what we need to stick with. I think
Right.
for the rest of the year of 2025, for the beginning of 2025, for the first half of 2025, I think stock specific moves are likely to continue. And so the focus entirely is now shifting from the bulk buying to counter specific buying and very selective buying.
Okay, got that. So that's the view. Kunal, tell us any key sectors you're betting big on for the new year?
Certainly, yes, Sakshi. So the first counter, the sector which I like is again, last time we discussed that's PSU, and among the PSU today, I am very clearly forcing the outperforming IR EDA, that's IREDA, right? This counter is up by around 5%. I think these counters which have shown price correction and within last 2 months they have been in sideways consolidation formations. I think these counters are likely to outperform. I'm very bullish on PSU segment, but now because as we just discussed, we have to go stock specific. So we have to evaluate and wait for these kind of behaviors where the counter goes up by 3.5%, 4%, 5% kind of in a day with good volumes. I think that will lead the market for next 1.5 to 2 months.
Okay, got that. So that's the view that Kunal is sharing with us. Let's look at the markets right now to see if there is anything that we can spot, at least in the broader markets, if there is anything. So the newly listed stocks are hovering higher. Sensex Pharma is still up about 39 odd percent. These are the newly listed stocks. Let's look at Ventive Hospitality. That's also holding up about 12 odd percent. It's come off, however, the sharp momentum that we saw in the initial trade. There are many others that are buzzing. You have AstraZeneca Pharma that's shot up 12.5% higher in trade as well. At least all the pharma related stocks are actually buzzing. What is your own sense on the pharma space, Kunal?
See, again, this entire sector saw a lot of price correction and a time correction. The counter which we picked up today itself is Aurobindo Pharma. Now, the only observation behind this counter was that for the entire month of November and December so far, this counter was in sideways consolidation. After seeing price correction of almost 30%, now this counter is coming out of sideways consolidation. It can be a good opportunity for someone who wants to go extreme positional on this. With the stop of around 1230, one can keep buying this counter. I think this entire trend which we saw between 2023 to 2024 is likely to continue. Likewise, there are many other counters which are looking attractive. Let's take an example of Lupin Pharma nearing the previous high, almost on the verge of breakout. So that's looking good. Even Sun Pharma, which is in the trend since pretty long time, it has also come out of consolidation on Friday, and today it's a follow-through day. So entire pharma space is anyway was trending, though it was in sideways consolidation for last 2 months. I think the rally is likely to continue.
Fair point. 241. I think the magnificent outperformers are only in the pharma space, Sakshi. Even the index itself gave a very strong buy on technical parameters, but it's just not looking good for any other index apart from pharma and to some extent IT. Even IT is down 93, but pharma in top shape, individual stocks doing phenomenally well, and you have bit gains as Kunal has pointed out. There's no clear trend which is emerging. Even when you see the PSU pocket, there is ITI. God only knows what change the company has done to merit a 15, 16, 17% uptick. This is just a very, very low floating stock, and that's the reason why you see such sharp moves. It started again its rally at 330 and is now at 380 now, 15% higher. Ireda is the second best gainer, 207.45. You have NLC India 1% higher, Power Finance Corporation, PFS, that's doing about 1% higher. But across the board, there is nothing much to talk about. No point taking a view on Adani Enterprises. Let's just again tap into Kunal's intelligence. Adani Enterprises today up 6.9%. Does it have volume? Nothing much here. Okay, let's just get to Kunal and get a view on Adani Enterprises.
So shares are actually on Adani Enterprise. We saw the gap down on 21st November, right? And that day's high was 25.40. And since then, this counter tested 25.40 almost 4 times. But it was a failure. It wasn't able to cross that because of gap resistance, of course, and because of that day's high also. Today is the first day where the counter is crossing that level. So technically, these 4 to 5 tops which were creating a strong resistance is now coming to an end. And now one can think of looking at this counter from even momentum buying perspective. So keeping the stop of today's mid level, that's at around 2500, one can think of initiating a buy. I think the minimum target can be the level from where it declined, that's 2800, can be the first possible target, and probably even higher to 3000 levels. So overall, I think this correction which we saw on the Adani group per se is now coming to an end, and fresh buying is likely to emerge even from present levels.
Okay, so that's as far as the Adani Group stocks are concerned. Let me drive your attention to the auto space then. Now, before understanding a wider view on the auto space, let me just pull up M&M in front of your viewers. There's a reason why I'm pointing this stock out. There's this news that has just come in just a little while back that's pulled down the stock to the day's low, and this news is that M&M has informed the exchanges that British International Investment Group's investment in the electric vehicle arm, Mahindra Electric, has now been cut to 650 crores. Now remember, the total investment by BII Group in Mahindra Electric would be about 1850 odd crore rupees. The group is likely to have a shareholding in the range of 2.6 to 4.58% in Mahindra Electric. But remember, this was earlier planned for about 725 crores. This has slightly reduced to 650 crore, and therefore you do see that dampening effect coming in on the stock. Just wanted to point that out in terms of the news. Kunal, M&M. How have you assessed the move through 2024 for this one for investors? Will this stock be an important one to continue to keep a watch on and probably include in the portfolios for the new year as well?
So Sakshi, again, this counter is being more or less positively driven. I mean, the trend is positive with sideways consolidation bias. If you look at May 2024, where the counter entered into a new, the higher gear, where the counter broke about 2400. Since then, it's been sideways counter, but with positive bias. I would not really be keen to initiate a buy at this elevated level considering sideways momentum. By any chance, if the counter comes down to 2850 kind of levels, I think that can offer good risk reward and we can think of initiating a buy. Otherwise, if someone wants to catch the momentum on this counter, then one will have to wait for 3140, 3150 kind of levels to give the breakout. Overall trend is absolutely positive. I am very comfortable with such kind of counters because instead of price correction, they are showing us time correction. So decline till 2850 can be a good opportunity, or 3150 can be a good breakout for momentum trading.
And what about the overall auto space, and Kunal, anything else also looks promising to you within the auto space, especially when tomorrow and day after it will be important to see how the sales figures come in for December, the last month of 2024. We'll have to see what the data definitely says, but we do know the second half has largely been under pressure for the auto space because of the muted demand. Your sense on how should one be really looking at the sector as a whole, and any other key preferences for you?
See, again, Sakshi, on auto index front as such, September 24, we saw the high of 27,700, and from there we are down about 15% on the index. Now, if we just go and check the historical data, somewhere in the month of May 2024, index was at 22,600 itself, and we are back to the same level. So again, broadly speaking, if the trend was very, very fast and quick during 2023-24, this has been a muted correction compared to that. I am very comfortable with the counters which have not performed well and now showing some kind of near to support kind of formation. So the first counter is Tata Motors, which I love the most at this point in time. Now the only observation on this counter is that after a massive rally of 2023-24, this counter is down to 735 levels. If you look at the percentage, we are down from around 1150 to 735. I think the strong support on the chart is 720. This is offering good risk reward ratio. If someone was willing to buy Tata Motors at 1,000 or whatever, compared to that, we are getting at bargain buying levels. Though it might enter into sideways consolidation from present level, but downside seems very limited. So with the stop of around 720 zone, one can strategize the entry onto this. If the counter enters sideways consolidation, then the upside targets can be 875 to 880 levels.
Fair point. Kunal, how are you analyzing Lupin? This is a counter that has done enough good over the last 6 months or so. Somewhere in July, this was at 1630, and now we are almost at a record high, if not just reached there. A record high is something like 2310. What is your prognosis? What are the charts telling you?
So, Shelter, we discussed two counters. The first was Aurobindo and the second was Lupin itself. And the only reason for me to shortlist this counter is that, again, if we look at last 6 months data, 5th September, we saw the high of 2310. After that, we saw the similar high in October 24. And this time, the candle of the day is 3% sizable and nearing that high itself. And the volumes are really good. I think if it gives a breakout about 2300, then the doors are open till 2500 to 2550. That's the bare minimum target considering the curve formation. So extremely bullish on Lupin and the entire. If I just talk about the pharma, then the first will be Lupin and the second will be Oro to check out.
Okay.
And how about Policy Bazaar? Do you see the return of momentum here? Now up 2%, 2100 almost.
Absolutely. This is the typical theory which we have been discussing since quite a long time. A good run up, sideways consolidation and momentum picking up again. This time in Policy Bazaar, we saw good correction. From 2200, we were down to around 2050 levels. But if you notice, this similar low was recorded even on 10th of December. That bottom itself is held on to, and today is the first reversal sign. So considering that 2050 as a strong support, one can definitely initiate buy, and the targets can be the first, which is the previous at 2200. By any chance it crosses that level, then 2450 can be the next level to watch out as a target.
Okay, sharp momentum in PB FinTech is something that we can see. Kunal, since you're talking about PB FinTech, talk to us about the new age tech space in 2025. Where do you think the outperformance can continue?
See, again, I have not evaluated that entire space in detail, but overall, if I speak about just couple of counters which are already in trend and people think too much of the upside is done, I think there is still more room on the upside. Let's just talk about the first counter, which is this Paytm, which was 197 communication, right? So this counter is now giving the breakout of October 23 high, which was around 975, 980 levels. This counter is at 1016, consolidating well and clearly forming higher top, higher bottom since last 6 months. I think there is a lot of room for upside on these counters. Just one word of caution is that these counters have started moving up, but the risk reward ratio at this elevated level is negatively skewed. So one has to manage the risk properly, keep strict stop loss based on either any specific indicators or swings, and continue. I think this is bare minimum which I'm talking about, but 15 to 20% upside on the counter. Selected counters are very, very likely.
Okay, got that. So that's as far as the new age tech space is concerned. Kunal, apart from this, I also wanted to ask you, the next big trigger that the markets will be now watching out for is the upcoming union budget as well. So just wanted to get a sense on, before the budget, are you looking at any key sectors that could be, preferred over the others, that could be in the limelight during the budget, before and after it as well? Should one start pre-positioning in some of those sectors? Also for the markets, what are the big expectations that you think markets will have from the upcoming union budget?
See, more or less, we always believe that these things are discounted. But last time, as per our communication, if you remember, we discussed about a couple of themes. The first was defense sector. I think entire market will closely monitor this entire sector. The
Yes.
second is the infrastructure sector, which is looking promising because of the recent corrections. Most of the counters are down by 20-25%. I think any good bottom formations in this entire sector can be watched out for. The third is agri sector. Agri specifically, I'm talking about those counters like which are into seeds business like KSCL, Kaveri seeds and all. I think these counters are already down by around 20-25% from the high, offering good risk reward ratio. I think from here on, for the first half of Jan, the positioning will happen in these such counters, and we might see good buying emerging in these sectors.
चलिए, strong move coming into policy bazaar now, 2110 for you. This is up 2.78%. And what else is moving? Ireda is moved.
Ireda is moving super, 8%.
Moved to 212. Yes, 8% up now. That's a very big relief actually. That points to some parts of long only trader community being active in the market. Let's see what happens on policy bazaar. What else is moving? In similar setups are MCX and BSE. A very sharp rise followed by a period of consolidation, and of course now an uphill task. Within these two, Kunal, what do you prefer, MCX and BSE?
Sir, if you look at the overall trend of BSE, it's very clearly higher top, higher bottom. Though we saw some kind of sideways consolidation in MCX, I think the trend on BSE is very, very strong. And today's candle on the daily chart is forming that bullish piercing, which is right from the previous breakout on 6th of December. We are near to that bottom itself. So considering that bottom as a support, I think 52.50 can be good stop. One can initiate buy on BSE, and the targets can again be 5,600 plus. For MCX, I'll wait for a day or two just because the trend is very, very muted since last 3 months. But otherwise, structure is very positive. Momentum is still missing. The momentum might just pick up about 6550 to 6600 kind of levels.
$254. It's either Ireda or it's Policy Bazaar. So these are the two that are over the last 5, 7, 10 minutes gathering attention from traders' side. Let's also look at what's happening in the circuit space. Okay, you have these names I don't want to take on air. Some are up 15%, some are up 16%. AstraZeneca, yes, this is a very good stock. 14% higher from the world of pharma. 72.60, very high price. Greaves Cotton 11% higher, again fresh high. This is doing well. Lots of pharma stocks here. Pfizer 10%. Can't remember the last time we saw 10% on Pfizer. Sakshi's marked Ind Swift Laboratories earlier. Now up Circuit 10. How about Ireda is also here. KNR Construction 8% higher. You have Credit Access, which was beaten black and blue, now resurfacing with a 7% uptick at almost 900. Balu Forge is doing very well, 6.5% higher, 791. Inox Green 5% higher, 173. Ganesh Housing 6% higher, 1240. So these are names that are in extreme demand with very, very good volume show. All-time highs, many of them. But which are the ones that I will mark on air? I'll avoid all SME platforms and tell you about EPAC 5% higher, 530. This is a recent listing from the EMS space. Of course, Grieve Cottons we've discussed. Look at Sakshi, how Triveni has been thrashed black and blue. Early morning high was a record high when the counter actually gained 5% in the morning, and the intraday high today was at a record 536, and from 536 we have a sell off at 451. So this is how you lose momentum, and you sort of give the jitters to investors who probably want to ride this breakout. So that's how it is, ladies and gentlemen. 2300 on Lupin very soon. Persistent doing well. Kunal, you want to give a view on Persistent?
Yes, absolutely. So this counter is the only IT counter which is trending. In fact, surprisingly, I was very skeptical when I saw the 20th December candle, where the counter was down by 4.5% because of massive rally, and then we saw the sell-off coming in. But immediately after that, it entered sideways consolidation of 4 to 5 days, and today it's up by 4% again. So I think this trend is likely to continue as before. Keeping the stop loss of 6,400 now, that's very negatively skewed again, but that's where the support is. Considering that as a support, one can initiate buy, and the targets can be 6,850 to 6,900 kind of levels. It's a trending counter. Buy on dip can be good strategy on such counters.
Okay, got that. Right, it's 2:58, 2 minutes to go for the last half an hour to begin. In the markets, IT is picking up pace now, 0.6% higher. Weak rupee added on to the upcoming earnings that will begin soon after, just within about a 10 days odd or so. Plus there will be this Donald Trump assuming office kind of a trigger as well on the export oriented companies. IT, what is your own thought process? There is a divided opinion on the street, Kunal, as far as the valuations are concerned, and at the same time the opportunities that may now exist. So how are you approaching this space?
See, Sakshi, again, we discussed IT somewhere in the last 15 days itself, where we discussed about counters reaching the previous highs, but they were not showing decisive breakout. Let's take an example of Infi, which we discussed that time. It was at 1980, which was a strong resistance since last 3.5 4 months, and we are seeing the counters coming down again, consolidating. So trend is positive, but it's nearly consolidating the highs near the high itself. So not very sure about whether it will lead the rally from this level. Even in case of TCS, it has come down significantly from 4,500 near to 4,100. So I think I'll wait for a while, and rather than that, we can always focus on mid-cap IT counter names. I'm very comfortable with the names of BSoft, which is Birlasoft, and Persistent System, which Sir discussed just now. I think these counters are showing good consolidation and a trend. I think they can probably lead the rally from here on.
Okay, got that. So that's as far as the IT names are concerned. Let's pull up some of the other interesting names. Consumer durables, another space that has been attracting our attention for some time now. Today it's Cera Sanitary Ware, one of the first days when it's showing a sharp jump. Kajaria Ceramics is also buzzing. Voltas Blue Star from the AC manufacturing space is up. Dixon Tech EMS player again is up and about. Crompton Greaves is buzzing. Anything that you like particularly, Kunal, here?
Cera is the counter which we shortlisted. Again, the only reason was that if you look at May 2023 so far, this counter is broadly in the consolidation between 6,600 to 10,000 kind of levels. And recently, in just a month back, this counter came down to 6,800. It's consolidating near that zone, and today it's showing good momentum again. I think with the stop of 7,200 kind of levels, one can think of initiating buy, and the targets can be 8,500.
3 p.m. ladies and gentlemen, the last half an hour left on the penultimate date of 2024. We have weakness all around, unless you see a couple of outperformers, but overall there is no respite for Indian equities. Rising US 10-year yield, falling rupee, consistent and predictable FII sales, absence of buy orders is all creating a very dirty cocktail for markets to slip at levels of about 23,650 on the Nifty, 385 points down on the Nifty Bank. Remember, it was higher by 550 in the morning, so the swing is enormous. plus the fact that you have the IT index and the pharma index providing some support. And now from the Adani stable, you have Adani Total Gas doing a fantastic 5% uptick. So this is how it is. 714 on Adani Total Gas, 7% higher on Adani Enterprises. Adani Power and Adani Energy Solutions are also in the green. It's turning out to be a good day for Adani Group, although 2024 was terrible. So this is how it is, and giving company to a lot of spaces are hotel stocks. Look at Indian hotels. A view here, 3% higher on Indian hotels. Kunal, what are the charts telling you?
So it's been the trending counter. We have discussed this multiple times even in the past, right? Every correction is a buying opportunity. Just one caution, which our investors, I'm sure, must have learned from your regular input, is that whenever there is a correction and this kind of counters, you should be buying. This counter was in consolidation near 850 levels, just 5 days consolidation, and today it's up by 3% back to new all-time high. So yes, this is a trending counter, and this trend is likely to continue even going forward. But corrections is something where one should keep an eye on. 75 is a strong support. Considering that, one can strategize the entry in such counters.
Right. Okay, Kunal, we'll thank you on that note for being with us on this special edition to
Thank
share
you
with
so
us
much.
all those sectors and ideas that you've shared. Wish you a very happy upcoming 2025. Hope to see you more often to discuss more about markets into the new year as well. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much.
And viewers, now we will welcome another guest on our show. We have Mr. Amar Singh, Senior Vice President Research at Angel One, now joining in on the show with us. Amarji, warm welcome. Season's greetings to you. Tell us what is the feeling like? The Christmas cheer was missing. Now the New Year cheer is missing from the D Street. Last 2 days are actually looking at probably we're going to be seeing a week close to 2024, but this year has actually had us celebrate quite a lot as well, and at the same time see the low phase too. What is your expectation for the upcoming new year for markets, sir?
Yeah, I would say that markets definitely should do well next year because there are a few reasons for that. One is that we've seen some really good correction, healthy correction, I would say, if I were to put it, in the benchmark indices. So benchmark index is down by almost 8%, 8 to 10%. But overall stocks, we've seen some significant correction, anywhere between 30, 40%. In some cases even higher. But I would say one should always look at it from a positive perspective, that you're getting to buy stocks and also many of the quality stocks at a comparatively relatively cheaper valuation as compared to what it was a few months back. Having said that, if you look at the macros which are going forward, markets have to a certain extent discounted the quarterly earnings. So this quarter earnings also markets to a certain extent have I would say discounted. So I don't see that would have much of an impact. It could be to do with more of international events which could really drive the markets. Like for example, in case we see a further strengthening in the dollar index and a weakening in the rupee, maybe we could witness more FIIs selling there. That's one. Secondly, the US president also coming on board in January. So his statements, his actions, which are not very consistent. So how that's going to play out. But overall, there's a perception that he's likely to be, that is, the US president is likely to be good for the US economy. And if that be the case, then that would augur well for India as well, maybe not well for China, but for India as well in certain sectors and in segments. But we'll have to be prepared for increased volatility. India VIX also has been kind, I would say, trading below the 14 levels or so. So I would say one should always look at the brighter side of things. Markets are the way they are. They've given excellent returns in many stocks and in indices over the year. And again, 2025 is also going to be a good year. But yes, we will witness some sort of volatility, and corrections are part and parcel. If one is looking at it from a long-term perspective, I would say there's nothing much to worry. If you're looking at buying stocks, then look at an SIP mode, always better than going in for lump sum, and also have a more of a diversified portfolio. If you're in short term, then you have to be more on the money management, risk management side, you have to be alert there. Then you can save, and then only you can prosper in the markets.
Okay. Namaste, Amarji, and a very warm welcome. Season's greetings as well. Given the paucity of participation as far as markets are concerned from FIIs, one really wonders who's absorbing all this heavy sales that they are coming up. Today, the index was inching towards 24,000, but at 23,900, there was a very, very heavy selling pressure which has seen the Nifty itself move down by 250 points. Who is buying?
So if we look at the index, first I'll talk about the index, and then I'll answer your query. So what we are seeing in the index is that higher levels definitely are being sold into, because if you look at the index, I've been saying this for quite some time now, that on the intermediate term, the index continues to remain quite bearish. So when I'm using the term quite bearish, means that higher levels are being sold into. So anywhere Nifty on the upside, 24,000, 24,200, that's a very strong resistance zone. So prior to that only, we are starting witnessing some selling pressure. If we go back a couple of weeks back, 23,500, 600, that's a zone of support. Currently, it's inching around those levels. Reaching 23,500, then yes, we could witness a move towards lower move towards the earlier low, which was somewhere on the 23,260. So 23,200 to 300 then becomes the next zone of support. Now, coming to your question, who's actually buying? Yeah, definitely the FI have been selling. So it's the DIIs who have been saving the day, and they are the ones who've really been getting into it. It's also the mutual funds, they on their assets which they are sitting on. They are looking at buying, but we need to remember that generally the buying that the DIIs do, or the mutual funds do, that's limited to select stocks. So we'll find that, for example, in many of the stocks, like pharma is one space where we are seeing a lot of positive activity happening. Earlier, we saw a lot of positive activity on the real estate space. Now we are seeing some consolidation in the real estate, except I would say Oberoi Realty being an exception. FMCG, we are seeing some sort of pullback there. So I would say that it's going to be more sector specific, and also the DIIs are the ones who are actually trying to get into the market, and they've been, because the money flow which is coming in has to be invested somewhere or the other, and it's always a good opportunity to invest when the market witnesses some sort of correction.
Okay. Amarji, let me ask you, as far as the mid and the small caps are concerned, which have outperformed the benchmark indices despite all the discussion about why the valuations were too much. Of course, when we had seen froth was building up here, they've still managed to outperform. What is your sense now that investors should have as an approach towards the mid and the small caps for 2025, sir?
So see, the mid cap and the small cap, definitely there are certain stocks which really have outperformed, and they'll continue to outperform in this segment as well. But you have to be very selective there, and also you'll have to look at certain specific sectors in that. For example, we've seen some strong moves in the hospitality sector. We've seen some very strong moves in the digital companies for new age companies on the digital side. We've also seen some very good traction coming in on one of the stocks which got listed a year back or so in the travel space. So there will be pockets of positive movements, but yes, it's definitely going to be not an easy task as it was earlier. And at the same time, one needs to remember that if you are getting into small caps and mid caps, you have to be prepared to stomach volatility, because volatility is there. We've seen some very strong volatility even in the large caps, like the likes of Tata Motors, I would say the likes of Reliance, Reliance witnessing almost 25% correction. Tata Motors, if you look at, has witnessed almost more than 30% correction. So the point what I'm trying to say is that you'll have to be prepared for volatility when you're looking at small caps and mid caps. And so having a diversified portfolio, more of a flexi cap, would be a better way to look at the market rather than getting into small caps alone or mid caps alone.
311, ladies and gentlemen. Uh, I wish I had something positive to say, except for very unpredictable kind of moves that are happening on individual stocks. Let's pay attention to volume buzzers. This has always been a space of happy hunting, and we'll pay attention to what is coming into here. Happiest minds from the IT space. An underperformer for the last 3 years, but one of the biggest value creators ever since it got listed. Now 7% higher at 750, almost 30 times the 5-day average is traded. Now at about 72 lakh shares. You have Campus, which is a shoemaker which has been up since morning. It's given up a large part of its early morning gains, but doing phenomenally well on volume. 81.6 lakh shares have been traded. That's good news. Also, Credit Access Grameen. This is something that needs to be checked with Amar. Amarji, how is this counter looking? Stock has corrected from say 1400, an all-time high, to somewhere like 750 now. The move is retracing. 905, 7.81% higher. Is your research team tracking Credit Access?
So if we look at, see, this stock did rally significantly from almost 250, 300 levels to 1800, and then it has corrected towards, it's almost half. If you look at from its all-time highs, the stock has lost by almost 50%. So now we are witnessing some sort of pullback in the stock and some really good volume buying which is happening in this particular stock at the lower levels. So yes, there is a possibility that we could witness the stock rally towards the 980, 1000 level. That's going to be a zone of resistance for the stock because the long-term trend still remains negative. And we are seeing some sort of pullback. So I would say more from a trading perspective, it could make sense if it sustains above the 900 levels, then a rally towards 980, 1000 cannot be ruled out. Whereas on the downside, it has got good support coming around the 840, 850 zone.
Okay, got that.
Fab.
Yes, Shall, please continue.
Sakshi, yours. Market
Okay.
is so interesting, I think you should track it.
Yes, it's the capital markets related stocks only that are buzzing sharply higher. Motilal Oswal Financial Services, that's up 6.5%. And you have some others that are also buzzing. 361 WAM is in thick trade. Nuvama, that's buzzing into Geojit Financial Services. All of these stocks which have actually been one of the top performers, as a segment as well in 2024, they continue to garner a lot of attention. Amarji, is there a favorite of yours as well in the capital markets related stocks? I mean, like, how are you really looking at it? Would you look at the index names, probably like a BSE, something that could largely benefit from the rise in the markets like a CDSL or a K Fintech, or would you go to probably look at and pick and choose within the brokers itself? How would you really approach this?
I would say looking at BSC definitely makes more sense because BSC has actually, if you see their performance over the last year or so, so that has been excellent. And going forward, also, if you look at the way the markets are going to perform and behave, there's a lot of opportunity in India. And if you look at the quarterly results also, BSE quarter on quarter, we've seen some very strong growth for the September quarter. We'll have to wait and watch for this December quarter. And profitability has also been on the rise. So this is one stock one can look at from a longer term perspective on corrections. At the current level, the stock is trading around the 5300 level. It has been a multi-bagger, and the stock in a year's time, more than a year's time, has from almost has been a 10x. Because in March of 2023, last year, it was around 400, currently it's around 5300. So it's been almost a 13x stock, and and that also on significant volumes. Recently, also the stock did a breakout above the 5000 level. So only any pullback in the stock is a buying opportunity. Ideally, a good level for the stock is somewhere around the 5100 level, 5150 level. That's a zone of support from where we could witness some buying. But in such a stock which has rallied significantly, you definitely need to have more of a stock SIP mode rather than buying at one go. But this is one stock one can keep in under one's radar.
Okay.
3:16, 14 minutes of trade left. Sakshi, I think it's the entire tech space that is making a very strong comeback. Look at Oracle Financial Services, 13,120. And there's another stock I want to mark. This is Bajaj Holding. It's up a massive 15%. And there is something interesting that I saw in one of the mutual fund portfolios over the weekend, that Bajaj Holding was the top holding for that company, for that fund. I don't remember which one, but that is what I vaguely recollect, that Bajaj Holding was the top performing, the top equity holding for that particular fund. It will come back to me. I'll mark it. But today, a day of rejoicing for this one. Please keep an eye out on here. And of course, there is no stopping the likes of Adani Power, Ipca Labs, Divi's Labs. Pharma is in top shape. Let's get Amarji into the conversation. Amarji, research based, which is one pharma stock that you wouldn't want to exit or maybe enter at current levels also?
I would say Biocon is definitely one can look at because the stock is, I would say, from a standpoint, from a fundamental as well as from a technical perspective, the stock has been doing well. It did consolidate, but again seems to have taken off on significant volumes. So currently it's around the 365, 367 zone of levels. So there is a possibility that we could witness the stock rally towards its recent high.
Okay. Okay, got that. Shall you were marking the Adani stocks. Now there is some statement and news coming in that Adani Enterprises will probably sell 13% in Adani Wilmar to achieve the minimum public shareholding requirements. And Wilmar International has now agreed to acquire. There is a 31% stake held by AEL in Adani Wilmar, and looks like there is going to be a massive change, and that is why there is some movement across the board in trade today. So that's one reason why the news is been impacting the stock largely. This actually also indicates that Adani Enterprises Limited is all set to exit the Adani Wilmar JV with this stake sale that it will now do in Adani Wilmar, and probably that is what has led to this sharp momentum in the group stock. I think 8% higher for Adani Enterprises, and that's what is moving the stock higher. Amarji, any view that you would have on the Adani Group stocks, Adani Enterprises, particularly after this strong move today?
Yeah, so looking at Adani Enterprises, again, I would say that the stock is in news, and we are seeing some sharp up move happening today. See what's happening in this particular stock. This stock or the Adani Group stocks have been under significant news flows which have impacted it either ways. And currently it's trying to form a base. So there's a 10% upside potential in the stock from the current levels.
Actually, I think what is happening is that let's first look at what is 13% of Adani Wilmar actually worth in terms of funds that could be raised. and then redeployed back into the infrastructural business that Adani has. Just a moment, I'll get the market capitalization here, and that's the reason why across the board you see it's 42,505. So 42,505 into 13% is easily 5,500 crores. So that most probably will be deployed in the other businesses which require this kind of money. Look at Adani Green, 4.2% higher. Look at how the other stocks, Adani Energy Solutions, etc., were moving. So, fair point. This was not a core business that the Adani Group was very keen to sort of have. So, you have a 10% uptick on Adani Total, almost a 10% move on Adani Power, 7.5% higher on Adani Enterprises, and Adani Wilmar itself, where the main transaction is about to happen, is flat as flat can be. So that's how it is, ladies and gentlemen. For the moment, news driven stocks gathering attention. 324. What else is moving? Adani Green is in top shape, 4.5% higher. Let's look at what the circuit is on Adani Green. 1 second. Adani Green circuit is 1159 if it happens. Still way off, but then there is still no GST employed on hoping and expectations. So let's hope this one works for Adani Green. 5.2% higher. Would you want to comment on the structural technical chart of Adani Green, Amar?
So if I look at, Adani Green currently is around the 1110 odd levels, and the stock definitely seems to have formed a base, and the stock is trying to trade higher. It would meet with some sort of a resistance around the 1140, 1150 level. That's a zone of resistance. Taking that out, the stock could rally towards the 1200 to 1250 level. What we are seeing is that the stock definitely has very strong support at the lower levels, and post the sharp correction, because from the stock more than half from and currently if you look at it, it's still at trading at least 50% discount to where the stock was trading a few months back. So there is this possibility of the stock moving up. We've seen some volumes also, significant volumes, more than average over the last few trading sessions. So that means that there's definitely some buying interest which has happened. And the recent low somewhere around the 900 level, that should act as a short-term bottom. So sustaining above 1100, 1120, the stock could witness a rally towards 1180, 1200 levels.
Okay. Got that. So that's as far as the Adani Group is concerned. It has been in momentum, and now we know the reason why the entire space was up, and now you can see many of those stocks high in double digits. Adani Total Gas up 14%, Power up 10%, Adani Green up 3.5%, Adani Energy up 3%. Then you also have other stocks also pulling up within the group. Of course, Adani Enterprises and Adani Wilmar we have already marked, and Adani Ports also among the nifty movers right there. Let us pull up some other stocks. Zomato. Oh, look at the kind of surge that we have actually seen on this one. Let us pull up this one. It was hovering about 2% higher in the morning, but then look at the sharp spike that we have seen on Zomato just now. 6.7% higher in just the last few minutes, 289. It's back at the 290 odd levels. It was hovering at around 270 odd levels since morning. Amarji, what causes this sharp spike? Is it the year-end ordering that is going to be going up? They've already mentioned and emailed all their followers, and therefore I have received this mail from Zomato which mentioned that biryani is something that has been most ordered in the year 2024 on Zomato.
I would say this year definitely you can say that has been the year for Zomato in terms of the price moves which we have witnessed, because if you look at this year itself, the stock was around 120, currently it's around 280, so 290, 300 levels. So the stock has delivered very strong. It is definitely visible on the charts. What we did see towards the 260, to 70 odd levels, and then there's a pullback. So it's more of a, I would say, consolidation between the 300 level and 260 level. So that's a range for Zomato as of now. Fresh entry, I wouldn't say at the current levels, because higher levels around 300, that could be a zone of resistance. But the good part is that we are seeing significant volumes today.
Okay, got that. So that's as far as Zomato is concerned, now 5%
20.
higher. Very smart move on this one. Shell, yours.
Yes, actually, I think it's the order inflow that is expected over tonight and tomorrow that is fueling this rally. And let's hope you order veg pulao rather than biryani, and maybe enjoy it with my very dear friend whom you know very well. And BSE, it's the entire, as I was pointing out, the financialization space that is doing very good. It started with Aditya Birla Sun Life in the morning, which is up 1.7%. UTI AMC doing well. JM Financial now up 1.5% higher. And of course, when such rallies start, BSE and MCX automatically come into the picture. So these are what we are looking at. K Fintech and CAMS are also in the green. So this is a space doing phenomenally well. And within the AMCs, within the FMCG space, you have Pidilite, 0.5% higher, 29.30. You have Bata India doing 1.2% higher. And of course, from the PSU pack, Power Grid, 311.6% higher. Sakshi.
Right, 3:28, just 2 minutes to go now. Okay, Amarji, any key strategies that you would want investors to really pick up? We are just heading into the last session of 2024 and we are going to be heading into 2025. What is going to be the winning strategy for the new year for all the retail investors?
I would say that for retail investors to really prosper in the market, couple of things they definitely need to keep a close watch on that. Don't get carried away by any news flows or on stocks. Do some research on your own. One. Secondly, never get into penny stocks or stocks which are into controversy. If you really want to create wealth over a longer term period, always look at quality stocks, not more than 15 to 20 in your portfolio, never. So if you want to add a 21st, remove the 20th, and then you need to add and also diversify into different sectors, like you would have a couple from the IT space, a couple from the pharma space, then from the banking space, and then from the auto space. So different sectors you should have, which can be a part of your portfolio. If you feel that this is too much to do, then maybe ETFs is a good way to look at the markets, because that also will deliver good returns. But again, SIP mode would be a better and more appropriate mode if you really want to go in for wealth creation. But for that, you have to have patience and discipline, at least over the next 10 to 12 years. Then you will see that some decent capital has been built. And don't try to think of making money in a single day.
Okay, got that. Well, thank you so much,
all
Amarji.
these problems.
Thank you. And wish you all the
Amarji,
same.
all these problems, we all talk about. We talk about these in a very holistic manner, but all of us are also afflicted by the same virus. Nevertheless, here's wishing you a great year ahead, and of course do order on Zomato so that this price can be justified that we saw just now. And Happy New Year to you, everybody at the team, and of course all at home. Thank you for being with us.
Yeah, thank you. And ultimately, we are all emotional beings, so markets somewhere or the other play upon our emotions. So that's what we need to actually control over. Thank you.
True.
Absolutely.
Okay. Right. We'll wrap it up at that note, viewers. 23,660 is the final print for the Nifty. We have ended lower, 0.6% down on the penultimate day of 2024. The Nifty Bank and the Nifty both are down 0.7% each. 358 points of a loss for the Nifty Bank. It slipped below 51,000 mark. 23,644 for the Nifty. Among the sectors, you had the pharma names definitely in the healthy zone today. 1% higher for this one. IT up in action, 0.5% higher. Midcaps pulled up, 0.4% up. FMCG, consumer durables also picked up. Largely defensive is what the market was in trade today. Apart from this, a lot of stock specific action happened. Adani Group, we discussed the news flow that has impacted and that's led to a sharp pull up on all the stocks. Adani Enterprises itself as a flagship company up 7.5%, but rest of the stocks also were up and about. IT space stocks, HCL Tech and Tech Mahindra were among the top movers on the Nifty. Sun Pharma, Cipla, IndusInd Bank were some of the other top movers. On the lower ground, you had Hindalco, BEL, Trent, Tata Motors and ONGC as among those that are down in trade today. F&O movers, Adani Enterprises, Biocon, Manappuram Finance, these were the top movers. Apart from this, you also had Indus Towers, Vodafone and Manappuram Finance as among those top movers on the F&O action. On the downward side, again, Jindal Stainless was down. In trade, Cyient, Prestige Estates, NCC, TVS Motor Company, these were some of the other laggards in trade. Railway stocks, some of them pulled up within the PSU basket. IRFC, for instance, that was up by 5%. Broader markets, you did see smart action coming in on Happiest Minds, on CRISIL. You had Sundaram Brakes that was up and about, Greenlam Industries, Credit Access Grameen. Many of these stocks we've discussed today. Pfizer, Bajaj Holdings, AstraZeneca Pharma, ITI Limited. These were all the stocks that were in the buzzing zone, and Irida as well as the newly listed stocks, you know. Senores Pharmaceuticals up in trade for 42 odd %. Then you had Ventive Hospitality up by almost 10% on day one right there. We leave you at that, viewers, but do stay tuned on to Business Today as there's more action coming up on your screens, a lot to catch up in terms of fantastic conversation that we've been having with top market masters on what should your preparation be in terms of the New Year's right there and your investment portfolio. Stay tuned with us. There's a lot more to catch up.